before the galaxy learned to fear humans. It learned to forget them. And that was not an accident. If you enjoy slow-burn revelations, impossible human foresight, and the kind of endings that make alien civilizations regret their decisions, subscribe, like, and stay till the end. Because this is not a story about war. It is a story about preparation. The vote was unanimous. That alone should have terrified everyone. Across 12 spiral arms, in chambers older than most stars, representatives of every known thinking species cast their decision into the consensus core. Light rippled through quantum lattice. Probability engines collapsed into certainty. One planet would be erased, not conquered, not enslaved, not harvested, removed. Its orbital record would be scrubbed. Its stellar signature collapsed. Its history classified, then quietly deleted. No monuments. No ruins. No survivors. A precaution. The galaxy had grown crowded. Old powers feared instability. Younger species spread unpredictably. And so, like frightened gods, they chose a sacrifice. The algorithms presented candidates. Frozen worlds with experimental colonies. Ocean planets with incomplete biospheres. Artificial habitats whose populations could be relocated. Then one name surfaced. Earth. The chamber fell silent. Humans were not the strongest species, nor the most advanced, nor the most numerous. They were simply difficult, unpredictable technological leaps, decentralized power structures, cultural fragmentation that made manipulation inefficient, a dangerous habit of surviving extinction events and calling them dark ages. The Council didn't hate humans. They feared what humans would become if left alone. And fear, in ancient civilizations, always wore the mask of logic. The vote passed. Erase Earth. Timeline. 50 standard cycles. Population removal. Not required. Someone asked why evacuation protocols were unnecessary. The answer was cold and efficient. Human expansion is minimal. Their population is planet-bound. Their off-world presence is symbolic. A pause. Losses are acceptable. So the galaxy moved on. Trade lanes adjusted. Navigation charts updated. Earth was flagged as void pending, and humanity never objected, because humanity never attended the vote. Earth learned of the decision 3 days later, not through diplomatic channels, not through warnings, through silence. Every long-range probe aimed beyond Sol returned the same anomaly, missing data. Relay stations that should have echoed signals instead folded into static voids. It wasn't an attack. It was worse. It was exclusion. Human scientists noticed first, then military analysts, then the old intelligence agencies whose job was to assume the impossible before breakfast. A pattern emerged. Earth had been scheduled, deleted neatly like an obsolete file. Panic was expected. It didn't happen. Instead, something far more dangerous took its place. Calm. The kind of calm only a species develops after surviving ice ages, plagues, nuclear standoffs, and its own worst instincts. Humanity did not argue morality. Humanity asked one question: how much time do we have? When the answer came, 50 cycles, the room went quiet, and someone laughed. Not hysterically, amused. Plenty, they said. What the galaxy never understood about humans was simple. They didn't plan governments the same way they planned escape routes. Within hours, Earth activated protocols older than most alien civilizations. Not public programs, not emergency broadcasts. Ghost projects. facilities buried beneath oceans and moons, AI systems trained on long-term survival, not conquest, manufacturing nodes disguised as civilian infrastructure, and most importantly, redundancy. Human evacuation didn't begin with ships. It began with disappearance, population records fragmented, Earth registries quietly altered. Entire cities were reassigned as industrial zones, then quietly emptied. People vanished in orderly waves. No riots, no broadcasts, no pleas to the stars. Just movement. Families boarded cargo vessels labeled as mineral transports. Scientists took long-term research contracts off-world. Military units rotated into deep space training and never returned. The galaxy noticed nothing. Why would it? Human traffic still existed. Signals still leaked. Earth still glowed blue and green in telescopes. It looked alive. That illusion cost the Council everything. By Cycle 10, Earth's population had dropped by 40%. By Cycle 20, 70%. Cities dimmed their lights under the guise of energy reform. Atmospheric emissions declined, praised as environmental progress. Alien observers commended humanity's responsible decline. They mistook evacuation for humility. Meanwhile, humanity built something else. Not a fleet. A network. Hidden colonies seated not in rich systems, but in places no empire wanted. Brown dwarf halos, rogue planets, dead zones warped by gravity scars. Places where nothing valuable should survive, except humans. Each settlement was self-contained. No central authority. No single failure point. Cultures diverged slightly on purpose. If one fell, the rest would remain unknown. Human history became distributed. And Earth? Earth was becoming empty. By the time the final cycle approached, Earth's assault population was under 1 billion. The Council congratulated itself. A clean erasure, minimal resistance, no destabilizing wars. They scheduled the final event, stellar destabilization through controlled gravitational interference. Earth's sun would flare, consume its inner planets, and leave behind a radiation scar indistinguishable from natural stellar death. Elegant, irreversible. They never noticed the absence of human diplomats, or the silence from Earth's deep space channels, or the fact that the moon no longer transmitted anything at all. On the final day, observers gathered across the galaxy to witness the end. Earth was still beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, city lights flickering faintly on the night side. A living world about to become memory. The command was issued. Gravity fields activated. The sun began to swell. And then something impossible happened. Earth transmitted a message. Not a plea, not a threat. A thank you. Just one line broadcast on every frequency the galaxy possessed. Thank you for the time. Then Earth went dark. The planet did not explode. The sun did not flare. Earth vanished. Not destroyed. Gone. The gravity well collapsed inward, folding space like fabric pulled through a needle. No debris, no radiation, no signature. Just absence. The Council erupted into chaos. Sensors failed. Prediction engines returned null. Astrophysical laws shrugged. Earth had not been erased. It had been removed. And that was when the first human colony activated its beacon, far beyond mapped space. And the galaxy finally realized the planet had been the least important thing humanity saved. If you think this was the end, it wasn't even the beginning. Because this is the part of the story where the galaxy stops asking what happened to Earth and starts asking a much worse question. What did humans become? Once they no longer had a homeworld to protect. For 50,000 cycles, the galaxy ran on a single comforting assumption. Earth was gone. Humans were extinct. The problem had solved itself. Council records listed humanity as species resolved. Trade resumed. Borders stabilized. Younger civilizations were taught a quiet lesson. Do not grow too fast. A void where soul once burned became a navigational taboo. Charts marked it with nothing but static and a warning glyph older than language. Absence event. No one went there, because no one wanted to remember what it felt like when a planet said thank you and vanished. The first sign of error arrived as a whisper. A mining guild operating near a dead gravity corridor detected an impossible anomaly, a signal with no origin point, repeating at irregular intervals. It wasn't a distress call. It wasn't encrypted. It was casual, like someone tapping a table while waiting. The guild flagged it as background noise and continued operations. 2 cycles later, their entire fleet disappeared. No wreckage, no energy spike, no hostile contact. Just gone. Insurance boards blamed spatial instability. Academics blamed faulty instruments. The council archived it under non-patterned loss. Then it happened again. And again, always near places no one cared about, places humans once would have cared about. What the galaxy never understood was that humanity didn't replace Earth. They replaced dependency. Each colony that survived the evacuation grew differently. Some became quiet agrarian worlds, orbiting rogue stars. Others embraced deep space habitation, weaving cities into asteroid shadows. A few did something far stranger. They abandoned planets entirely. Humanity learned that fixed locations invited erasure. So they stopped being fixed. They became nomadic infrastructure, fleets that weren't fleets, habitats that masqueraded as debris, civilizations folded into the noise of space itself. No capital, no flagships, no center to strike, and most importantly, no need to announce their presence. Humanity didn't hide because it was afraid. Humanity hid because it was waiting. The first confirmed human contact occurred 73,000 cycles after Earth vanished. An exploratory vessel from the Varelian Concord stumbled into what it believed was a dead system, a brown dwarf surrounded by fractured rock. Sensors showed nothing. Then something answered their scan. Not a weapon. A map projected directly into their navigation core. It wasn't labeled. It wasn't marked with warnings. It simply showed routes, paths through gravitational chaos, safe corridors where physics behaved differently, smoother, quieter, controlled. The Varelian captain made a choice that would later be called the most expensive mistake in galactic history. They followed it. The ship emerged into a space that shouldn't exist. A volume of vacuum threaded with light, artificial stars humming at low output, connected by structures so thin sensors barely registered them. No defensive arrays, no warships, just life. Millions of vessels drifting in synchronized silence, habitats rotating gently, energy flows balanced to perfection. A civilization that had optimized not being noticed. And then a human voice spoke, calm, curious, unmistakably real. "You're early," it said. The Varelians panicked. Weapons charged. Transmissions flooded. Apologies. Threats. Demands. The human voice waited until they were done. Then replied, "Relax. If we wanted you gone, you'd already be a rumor." That was the moment the galaxy learned its second great mistake. The first was voting to erase Earth. The second was assuming humans equated survival with weakness. The council convened an emergency session. Records were unsealed. Simulations rerun. Every model collapsed into the same horrifying conclusion. Humanity had not fled. Humanity had distributed itself beyond prediction. Their technology didn't exceed galactic standards. It sidestepped them. Where others built bigger weapons, humans built deniability. Where others fortified borders, humans erased the concept of borders entirely. They didn't control space, they used it. And now, they were active. Trade routes began to fail. Not attacked, redirected. Ships emerged weeks late. Cargo intact. Navigation logs altered. Crews reported missing time. Gaps where nothing happened, yet fuel was consumed and distance traveled. Entire systems experienced brief communication blackouts. Minutes, sometimes seconds, just long enough for something unseen to move through them. Then came the messages. Not broadcasts, personal deliveries. Council members found human artifacts placed in sealed chambers, objects that could not have passed security. A child's toy, a handwritten note, a model of Earth, cracked but intact. No threats, just reminders. We are here. Panic spread quietly. Publicly, the council denied everything. Privately, they argued over one impossible question. Why hadn't humanity retaliated? The answer terrified them more than war. Humans were not angry. They were finished. Finished proving themselves. Finished seeking approval. Finished playing by rules written by civilizations afraid of extinction. Humanity had moved past survival. They were now exploring post-threat existence. And the galaxy was just background terrain. The truth emerged slowly. Earth had not been destroyed, nor transported. It had been folded. Human scientists, anticipating stellar erasure, had developed a one-use planetary displacement system, a gravity well inversion so extreme it collapsed Earth into a pocket of higher dimensional space, a place unreachable without coordinates that no longer existed. Earth became a vault, not for weapons, for memory. Every language, every culture, every mistake, preserved, untouchable. Humanity didn't carry nostalgia with them. They archived it and moved on. When the council finally attempted diplomacy, they sent their most cautious envoys. They found no capital to visit. Instead, they were met by a human collective calling itself simply the Continuity. No leaders, no throne. Just representatives rotated at random, because humans had learned that hierarchy was just another target. The council demanded explanations, regret, forgiveness. The Continuity listened politely, then asked one question. Why do you want us back in your system of order? No one answered, because the truth was obvious. The galaxy didn't miss humans. It missed the balance humans accidentally provided. Predators hesitated when humans were nearby. Empires negotiated more carefully. Rules existed because humans broke them creatively. Without humanity, stagnation had crept in. Fear had grown. And now the galaxy wanted its unpredictable variable returned. Humanity declined. The Continuity offered no vengeance. No ultimatum, just a warning. We are not your enemy, they said. But we are no longer your responsibility. Then they vanished again, not fleeing, choosing absence. And somewhere in deep space, far beyond council reach, Earth continued to spin, untouched, waiting for a future where it would never again be voted out of existence. You might think this is where the story ends. It isn't, because one species didn't accept humanity's refusal. One civilization decided the galaxy had made a mistake twice and would correct it with force, and in doing so, they would finally learn why humans never came back. Because this is the part where the galaxy finally understands something it should have learned long ago. Humanity didn't disappear to survive. Humanity disappeared to avoid becoming a threat, and then someone forced their hand. The Zeer Dominion had never feared humans. They were young, aggressive, and proud of it, a species that believed the universe rewarded those who acted first and apologized never. Where older empires hesitated, the Zeer advanced. Where councils debated, the Zeer conquered. To them, humanity was a ghost story told by cautious elders. A civilization without a homeworld, without borders, without a fleet you could point to and destroy. In Zeer philosophy, that meant only one thing: weakness disguised as mystery. When reports of redirected trade routes and vanishing fleets reached Zeer command, they didn't panic. They smiled. If humans exist, the Overmarshal declared, then they occupy space. And anything that occupies space can be taken. The Dominion began the first true hunt for humanity. Unlike the Council, the Zeer did not ask permission. They traced anomalies aggressively, forced ships through unstable corridors, sacrificed entire task groups to map regions no one else dared to chart. Losses were acceptable. Progress was not optional. Eventually, they found something. A human logistics chain. Not a city, not a colony, but a moving lattice of habitats, drifting through a gravitational scar left by a dead star. To the Zeer, it looked undefended. No warships, no shields. Just millions of lives suspended in fragile silence. The Overmarshal ordered the attack without hesitation. "Erase it," he said. "Let the ghosts learn fear." The first shot never landed. Zeer energy lances passed straight through the formation, not missing, but striking nothing. Space bent subtly, like light through water. Sensors screamed contradictions. Targets registered as present and absent simultaneously. Then the lattice moved, not away, around the attacking fleet. The Zeer realized too late that they hadn't found a settlement. They had found a current. Human infrastructure didn't resist. It flowed. Zeer ships were pulled apart by invisible gradients, not torn, not exploded, but gently separated into component atoms as the space they occupied was reassigned elsewhere. It was clean, efficient, terrifying. A human transmission followed, calm, disappointed. "We told you we weren't hiding," the voice said. "We were passing through." The Dominion lost 1/3 of its fleet in under 3 minutes. The survivors fled, and for the first time in its history, the Zeer Dominion requested emergency council intervention. The council had no answers. They had believed humanity's absence was a retreat. They now understood it was a containment strategy. Humans had learned something ancient species never did. Power attracts challenges. Absence attracts curiosity, but far less often. Humanity had stayed invisible, not because it couldn't dominate the galaxy, but because it didn't trust itself to stop once it started. The Zeer were not finished. Humiliated and enraged, they escalated. They searched council archives until they found the forbidden data, fragments of the original Earth erasure vote, stellar coordinates, gravitational models. A theory formed. If Earth still existed, folded somewhere beyond conventional space, then destroying it would do what erasing it never did. It would break humanity's continuity. The Dominion assembled a doomsday array designed to destabilize higher dimensional pockets. Their target was not humanity's present. It was humanity's past. The moment the array activated, every human settlement felt it. not alarms. Grief, a sensation like pressure behind the eyes, like remembering something precious was in danger. For the first time since Earth vanished, the continuity convened without randomness. Every node, every voice, united, and they reached the same conclusion instantly. This is what we were avoiding, one representative said quietly. Humanity had one rule since disappearing: never reveal the full shape of what they had become. Desire made that rule obsolete. The response was not a fleet. It was a revelation. Across the galaxy, space changed. Gravitational constants adjusted by fractions too small to detect, except they aligned, forming corridors no one had ever seen before. Human constructs emerged everywhere at once. Not ships, frameworks, massive structures that didn't to occupy space so much as define it, scaffolding wrapped around reality itself. The galaxy realized, too late, that humans had never needed to control territory. They had learned to control transition, where ships could go, how signals propagated, which stars connected to which. Humanity had become the infrastructure layer beneath civilization, and now it was active. Desire array fired, and failed. Its energy vanished into nothing, not absorbed, not deflected, reassigned. Moments later, the Dominion's capital system folded inward, sealed inside a dimensional pocket identical to Earth's. Not destroyed, preserved, a mirror prison. The human message followed, broadcast galaxy-wide. "We didn't erase you," it said. "We archived you." Silence fell across every star nation, because they finally understood the horror of it. Humanity didn't kill enemies. It removed them from relevance. The Council begged for mercy, for intervention, for the return of Earth, proof that humans still belonged to the galaxy they once shared. The continuity responded one final time. Earth appeared, not physically, as an image, blue, scarred, alive. "We didn't leave because you voted against us," the voice said. "We left because you thought you could." A pause. "We will return one day, not to rule, not to punish." Another pause. "But when we do, it will be because the galaxy has grown beyond needing sacrifices to feel safe." The image faded. Earth vanished again, forever unreachable. History would later mark this moment as the quiet ascension, the point where humanity stopped being a species and became a condition of the universe. Trade stabilized, carefully. Wars grew rarer, cautiously. Every empire learned to ask not what do we want to do, but will the humans care? Because somewhere, unseen, humanity watched, not as conquerors, not as gods, but as custodians who had learned the hardest lesson of all. Survival isn't about power. It is about knowing when to step away and how to come back if the universe forgets why it needed you. If this story made you pause, if it made you rethink what victory really looks like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves HFY stories. Because the best human victories are the ones no one sees coming.